all excited. I said, Mom, Dad, come out, come see. My dad walks out and he said, now, why in the hell you want to waste your money on something like that?
When you're a second round pick, you got $300,000 or $400,000 in a signing bonus in the early 1990s, and I think your first contract was for $1.3 million over 3 or 4 years. What did you do when you got your first big paycheck? Who'd you blow some money on?
Well, I really didn't blow any money. The first thing that happened when I signed my contract, I got a $450,000 signing bonus. And I remember that as if it were an hour ago. And I remember it so well because Bus Cook, my agent, great guy, very smart, just keeps it real. He said, now, I want you to think about this very carefully. You don't have 450,000. You have half of that. The other half is the government's. So either you put it away now or have the team take out the half. That way, he said, I would recommend that because that way you never spend it and then get in a bind. So he said, from here on out, if you sign a $10 million contract, it's $5 million. If you sign a $20 million contract, it's $10 million. So, and I was kind of like, wow. That was kind of, because I had $125 in my checking account before. And that's a true fact before I signed my first contract. Now, what I did is I did buy my first car. My mom and dad were school teachers in Mississippi. I can't tell you how many times I asked for a car. They had 4 kids. And my dad, I'm not going to repeat what my dad said because it's bad language. But so when I got my first contract, I went and bought an Acura Legend and paid for it, wrote a check, didn't know how to write the check, had to have somebody there write the check for me. It was like $34,000 for the car. So I bought it in Mobile, drove it back to my dad's house, all excited. I said, Mom, Dad, come out, come see. My dad walks out and he said, now, why in the hell you want to waste your money on something like that? And I was like, okay. And life went on. But, I rented in Atlanta the first year and eventually bought a house in Green Bay at 2 or 3 years in. But I was fairly frugal.
Your parents, they didn't want anything. They didn't ask for anything. You didn't have to buy them anything.
No, the house we grew up in was fine. Wasn't nothing fancy, but it was home. I did buy my dad a truck at some point in my career. Bought him plane tickets to come watch the play. Would help out at home improvements. Hurricane Katrina came and wiped our house away, rebuilt in the same place. So I helped along the way, but I didn't go buy him a fancy house. Now my dad did want some cows, so I bought him some cows.
This
simple,
it reminds me. Yeah, it reminds me of, again, I grew up with Jeff George, and his parents refused to move out of the house that they raised their kids in. They had 3 boys, and forever. And Mr. George may still live there. Judy George's mom passed away, but they had a very simple house with a very tiny pool in the backyard. I couldn't imagine they paid more than $50,000 for that house, and they refused to leave. And I can remember Jeff, I think they had some shag carpet inside their house that he finally got them to replace that. But it's Those are the guys that don't have family crawling into their pocket and asking for a lot of things and don't feel pressure. Those are the guys that survive and don't end up broke. And so it sounds like great parents, great. That's good. You bought an Acura, $34,000 Acura.
And it pained me to write that check for $34,000. I was like, this is a lot of money, which it was, and it's still a lot of money today, in my opinion.
Yep.
But we were raised that way. Mom and Dad didn't make very much money. I think combined they made $50,000, and that's including my dad being the football coach. So I remember one night when I was a kid, they called me and my older brother Scott into the kitchen, and they said, "You want to see something?" And we were like, "Yeah, sure." They held up a $100 bill. That was the first time I'd seen a $100 bill, and I thought, "Wow, we're rich."
Like what you saw? Hit that like button, subscribe, and check out the full episode by clicking the link below.